All right, what's up, everybody? We have a really cool session today. I am your friend Keith, here live again in the control room at Essex Recording Studios, just outside London in Southend-on-Sea, England. And yes, we do have producer, mix engineer extraordinaire, James Curtis Thomas in the studio with us, but not only him, we've got quite a few guests today. Say hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. How you going?
Right on. Okay, well, I guess we'll just start from right to left, and let's introduce ourselves. Say what you do, who you've worked with, or what you're working on. If it's top secret, don't tell anybody. But take it away, my man.
I am Michael Blackwell. I'm a session musician and a songwriter.
Awesome.
Hey, I'm Shane Benson. I am a drummer and play for a bunch of different people.
Oh, that's not all you've done. I think I've seen you on a TV show in Australia somewhere. Come on now. Come on, we're going to talk about it. We're talking about it right now. Home and Away, just Google it. Oh, yes. Yes, the River Boys gang. This man is stone cold famous. All right, famous in Australia. Don't listen to him. Famous. All right, next up to bat.
Hey, I'm Alex Lanyon. I am a songwriter and a session musician, a wannabe home and away actor.
Yes.
That's me, yeah.
Frisbee thrower extraordinaire as well.
Rookie Frisbee enthusiast.
And phenomenal guitarist.
Thank you, I try.
Next up. Whoosh.
I'm James Smiddles, and I'm a guitarist and keys player, and also an artist and songwriter as well.
And I think I've seen you something on BBC Radio recently or something like that.
Got my first Radio 1 play this year.
Radio 1 this year. This
One.
huge, man. We'll get back to that in a little bit.
It's in a while away.
Hello,
All right, young lady, introduce yourself.
I'm Caitlin Scarlett.
What a name born for the stage. Is that on your birth certificate?
It is.
Get out of here. So this was all planned.
Well, yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
That's my mum.
All right, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm an alternative pop artist myself, but I also write for a lot of pop music and things like TV.
Okay, wicked. And whoosh, over here, straight at you, buddy.
Hi, Dieter Gickel. I'm a songwriter and producer. I do a lot of work with sort of up-and-coming BBC artists, and I do music for television as well.
Right on. Can you name anybody?
Can I name anybody? Put me on the spot.
So many secrets.
No, I work at favourite artist I'm working with at the moment. It's called Naomi Banks. I'm working with an artist called Celine as well. She's fantastic, and also working with a few people in a record label in West London.
Wonderful. All right, and whoosh, to your left. I'm going to introduce you, Mr. Rob Jarvis.
I am Rob Jarvis, the aforementioned.
Facts. Hashtag facts.
And I'm in a band called the Mercury Sons, and I will tell you because I need to plug that as
absolutely, for sure. And you've spent some time in Nashville lately.
Yeah.
And
Not for a little while, but yeah.
And now you're back. It's good to have you here, man.
Yeah, they kicked me out.
Does my accent give you any comfort? Do you feel like you're back home on the East Coast over there a little bit?
It's very comforting, actually.
Right on. I think I could do like ASMR. I think I got the voice for it. I need to grow my fingernails out.
Near my ears.
Yeah. All right. And who's this fine-looking fellow over here?
I'm Jay Busy.
Yes, you are. What's going on, man?
Singer-songwriter. I'm currently working on my debut EP.
Yes.
Yeah.
With this guy over here, right? He's not giving you too much of a hard time, is he?
No, he's awesome.
He's pretty badass. Yes, and you just had super versatile artist. GRM, Grime Daily, and we're going in a few different directions. It's really cool, man. We're really excited about your career. And last but not least, we know this guy, resident producer, happens to be the owner, James Curtis Thomas.
I'm a dad.
You are a dad. Look at the circles around his eyes. Do you see them?
I've started using eye cream after chatting to you.
Yep. This is the man to talk to if you need cosmetic tips.
Wasn't me, bro.
Look at the hair. It's beautiful.
I'm a hermit in this place.
You do spend a lot of hours underground here, for sure. All right. Well, now that we've all introduced ourselves, let's talk about what it's like being a musician in London, trying to make it. You're here in the kind of the capital of music for a good portion of the world. Caitlin's about to destroy all of our synthesizers over there. Thank you. Appreciate it. We'll send you the bill in the mail.
Push it
back.
Push it back.
Yeah, push it back a bit if you want.
Definitely.
So on our channel, we've got a lot of aspiring musicians. We've got a lot of people who are technically very proficient, very good, but maybe are looking for answers, looking for guidance and advice on what they can do on the other side, the professional side, the business aspect. Does anybody want to get the ball rolling here with giving some advice on what has been really important for you, for your career? Michael, I know you were talking about some things the other day. Let's talk about it. Key piece of advice, man.
My Keith piece of advice.
Keith piece of advice.
On Keith's piece of advice today, I would say be nice.
Yes.
That's what we were talking about the other day. If you go spend 2 months, 2 years on a tour bus with somebody, or 2 weeks in a studio with somebody, don't be a. Is this family
You
show?
can no, it's not. You can say the word.
Don't be a naughty boy.
Don't
be a dick.
Don't be a dick. Yes. Key piece of advice. And I don't know if this story is top secret or not, but you have a wonderful anecdote about
I don't remember
that.
this. I think you asked me this when I was drunk.
Oh,
What was the anecdote?
the anecdote was somebody that opened up for you one year, a rather obscure artist at the time who ended up being quite huge.
Yeah, being quite huge. And then I'm not going to say who it was, but yes.
Can't say who it was.
But,
Okay.
But nice guy, and then we stayed in touch, and they ended up being quite big, and then I ended up playing for them, and it was quite nice.
By quite big, like absolutely massive. But if you didn't give him the time of day, which certainly at that time, just a person who's has no following, relatively obscure, opens up for you. The point, I guess, the moral of the story is that you never know whose career is going to go and what trajectory when. And if you're nice to everyone and you're respectful for everyone and you're always being helpful, well, this is a relationship business, right?
Exactly.
How important are your relationships, who you know in this business? And critical? It's everything.
Yeah, I think music is like half music skill and then half people skills.
Yeah, totally.
I have to agree with you on that because, I mean, we can listen to the radio. We can all listen to stuff that we're like, well, it's not amazing, but these people have an excellent team behind them. They have a phenomenal engine. Their marketing's on point and they clearly know the right people. So they're reaching the highest altitudes of the music industry versus I'm sure we all know, especially being session players here in London, that you probably know some people that are just phenomenally talented. If only people knew they existed, they'd be at the top, but they don't have the connections, or maybe they aren't always nice and they're kind of a dick to people. We certainly have, we could tell you lots of stories about that. Phenomenally talented, rotten person, and just burns too many bridges, and that's what happens to their career. It just doesn't make it. So I think that's sound advice, my man. Our Australian movie star over here. Now, you're primarily a drummer, right?
That's correct, yes.
So what advice would you say to people, because you've actually traveled across the world to be here, and I think that's really important. Obviously, we've had things like a global pandemic happen and throw a little bit of a spanner in the works, but if you're out on Australia, the population's very spread, and you're on a relatively remote island in a remote market. But here, what made you choose to come to London in the UK?
Pretty much the reasons you just mentioned. Like, we're quite far away from everyone, all the rest of the world. So we have our own market, which is it's really strong, to be honest. It's
For sure.
very strong. Like, there's a lot of really good bands that come out of Australia. But I guess for me as a session musician, I wanted to branch out a bit more and play for other people from other areas of the world. It's really hard to do that from Australia. So.
Right, it's an island, but it's a huge island. Here we've got 65 million people. You can drive to one side of the UK to the other in the same day. You can't do that in
Definitely not.
definitely not in Australia.
We're roughly the same size as North America, like the same.
Which is
distance.
what I mean. It's a continent.
Yeah, it's massive. But yeah, we have way less population. I guess just here, London's a world hub of music, and everyone comes to London. Sydney or Melbourne or Brisbane, a lot of people do come, but it's just not the same scope. So.
What do you guys think about that as far as, I guess, being where the action is, being where the hub is? How critical is that to, I guess, fast forwarding your career? Because I mean, anybody, I guess, can be a musician anywhere, and you can be talented, and you can probably be successful. But what do you think? Do you think being in a metropolitan area is fairly important if you want to build these relationships? And
Yeah, I think it's pretty vital to be.
Alex seems on the fence about it.
I am on the fence about it. I just know, I do know quite a few people who've done it. They are anomalies of people who have done it and not ever taken the plunge and moved to London. But
if you were going to advise someone one way or the other, what would you say?
I would advise people to move to London.
It's expensive.
I don't know. It's a real challenge, and it's hard to just kind of cut your teeth in just a living kind of to live in London, to survive in London, to start with, just cutting your teeth. Just as someone living, let alone trying to make it as a musician.
I'll ask this though: how important is it, being session people? A lot of the people in the group here, I would imagine it's quite important to be the clutch, to be the person someone can rely on in a bind and quickly. Hey, are you ready? Because there's probably lots of people raising their hands saying, "Oh, I want to do that." But if you're the closest, you can get there the fastest, and you're Johnny on the spot. Yeah. Do you have any experiences where that was really important?
I think that would be I did a session last week before last, and it was like, "Hi, you're right. I need a guitar player, and where do you live?" And we were 20 minutes from each other, so I went and did the session.
But if you're 2 hours away,
I live in Glasgow or something
yeah,
like that,
or Australia,
then it wouldn't be the same. But I think moving to London definitely, for me, I probably wouldn't have got the gigs that I had done because I'm from the northeast.
Right.
If I hadn't moved here, however, I do know people who have got gigs who haven't moved to London, but I also know a hell of a lot of people who moved to London and haven't got gigs as well.
Right.
So I think it's all personal experience. But I do think, if somebody needs a musician for something quick, then being in a hub is important.
I think when you do an audition as well, you often get asked at the end of the audition, so where do you live? Where are you based?
Really?
If you say you're in London, I think that is in your favour. It's definitely in your interest.
It also depends on the size of the artist. If the artist can afford to ship you from, I know some guys in Berlin who fly over to do front of house and stuff like that, and it's that's fine if the budget's there to do it. But
for sure,
if you're an upcoming artist,
right,
you've got to be able to pay for that. So that's definitely taken into account.
So James, we're just talking about Radio 1 this year. This is what everyone tries, here in the UK, and I'd say even Europe, everyone's trying to break into that market. Any stories or advice on how it happened? Or was it serendipity and totally random? Or was there a strategy that you employed to make this happen?
I think it's really important to say that I'm still at the very beginning of this,
for sure,
this journey. But for me, BBC Introducing has been the most supportive factor.
Wow.
In the very early stages. So I've released 3 singles that have all gone down, respectively, and in terms of streaming numbers, not huge. But BBC Intro have backed them all. I've done I've done things where I've been broadcast nationwide on every Introducing show in the country.
Amazing.
Did the Introducing live thing last November at Tobacco Docks. And they put me forward to get played on Radio 1, but I got played on Radio 6. I actually got my PRS statement through the other day and found out I've been played on literally every BBC station, local BBC station in the country off the back of one thing. So I think definitely applying, if you're a new artist, applying to BBC Introducing is probably
Now, there'll be a lot of people that are listening to this that are in America or other countries that won't know what BBC Introducing is, but the principle is the same. So here in the UK, we've got national radio, and there is this place, this format, this show that they have where you can upload your own music, totally independent, and it will get reviewed by producers and talent on air with the national radio shows and regional ones, and they'll pick what they think is viable and they'll play it. Now, you uploaded it, but was it fire and forget? You uploaded it and there's, I hope they play it. Or were you proactive? Did you get to learn who the producer was, who the talent was? Did you reach out to them? Did you ask them to now take it from the regional? Can you please, or did it all happen on its own in the background?
It kind of all happened on its own. I mean, I thought I'd upload it 2 weeks before my first single was due to come out, thinking it might take them a month to get back to me. And 2 days later, they said we're going to play it this Saturday. And I was like,
wow.
Shit. It's before the actual release date, if somebody likes it on the radio, they're not going to be able to go.
Oh no! Yeah.
So I kind of shot myself in the foot, and off the back of that, they invited me up to do a live session at BBC Radio York, which is where I'm from. So it kind of all happened on its own, you know. They're really supportive up there, and they're like a really, really cool team. I had the opportunity to meet, so I played at Leeds Fest, playing for another like upcoming artist, a guy called VC Pines, and I was playing for him at Leeds Fest, and I saw the producer for the York show, and I got to say hello to him and say, "Oh, I'm coming up. I'm going to meet you in a couple of weeks. I'm going to do a live session." And so it's nice to be able to put like faces to names and meet people and stuff. But yeah, I think I'm kind of lucky.
That's wild, man. Well, we look forward to tracking your journey, and it's exciting to see you, getting this traction straight away in 2020. And
the Last Morale.
Yes, the Last Morale. Yeah. All right, Caitlin, you're on a journey as well that a lot of people are trying to do and to make it here in the big city in London and really everywhere. We see a lot of these talent shows like American Idol, and everyone wants to be a singer-songwriter these days. How has it been? How important is your team? Do you have a team?
Yeah, I have a team. I've had the same team since I was probably 19.
Wow. How did you go about forming it, and how do you go about managing that team so that it's effective and that it works to elevate your career and have progression?
I think, communication is a big one to start with. We're constantly talking to each other, and we switch roles depending on how much is going on. So I've just taken over my diary at the moment, for example, because with Corona and everything that's happened, things are quiet enough that I can manage them myself. Whereas when things are really busy, I have a manager who literally tells me what to do, what airport to be at, what gate, what time, we swap roles depending on how busy things are.
That's great, because if you're completely reliant on a person to do everything all the time, or even one thing but all of the time, well, what if they're sick? What if they're going through some issues? Or what if they're busy? If everyone can kind of cross delegate and everyone knows each role, you can also kind of supervise each other and say, hey, what about this thing over here? Oh yeah, I forgot. Whatever. So you're knowledgeable of what the other roles are on your team, and you help out when and as needed.
Yeah, I like to have as much control as possible, but also as much as I can handle, because being the artistic one in the duo or in the dynamic, whatever, is a big factor of that is that you have a lot to deal with emotionally and creatively. So I don't like to mix the two worlds unless I can, which is useful to have a manager there to take the weight off you if you need that. But also, as somebody who prefers to be independent, I'm also glad that I can take the reins whenever I feel like I want to.
Yes. And what's your advice to a 19-year-old girl who's got the talent, like you're talking about, is 50% of it. She's got the talent, but she has no clue what to now do with it. Where do you start? What do you do? I know I'm a great singer. Now what?
So if they're a singer, learn an instrument or learn how to produce.
Okay.
Be as self-sufficient as you can. Don't take advice from people who have something to gain from the advice they're giving you. So
I like that.
A lot of people will try and mould you very young. People see that you have time that they can waste and the potential that they can use. And quite often people they have a genuine spark and then they lose it because they take too much advice. So just, try not to ask for help. Try and figure out if there's a skill that you don't have. Try and figure out if you can just gain that and do it yourself.
Okay. Right on. Dietrich, am I saying your name right?
Dieter.
Sorry, Dieter.
Yeah,
I'm dyslexic.
Like that, I prefer it.
Dietrich, all right.
I was going to say, we've heard some weirder versions.
Yeah.
All right, man. And you said you were working with Naomi Banks right now. You're an up-and-coming producer. You're with a new label in the West End, right?
Yeah.
How's that going, man?
Well, I think it's just like we were just talking about BBC Introducing, done a lot of work with them, like Radio 1 as well. So got that was sort of just started working with artists, and what I like to do is very much sort of creative in the sense that I like to songwrite and produce the whole thing. So when I work with someone, we usually like to sit together. I've got a little home studio. We sit together in the countryside and just work on demos and demos and demos. Just get something until we get something that's feeling a bit right, and then
just keep working it and stay on it.
And then usually we go down to London and record the vocals and.
Phenomenal, man. It's the middle of 2020. As a producer, where do you see popular music heading? Do you see any trends? are you trying to get ahead of the trend? Is it tough to innovate? Do you feel like everything's been done? What's your strategy?
I think it's I listen a lot to everything, like all
Okay.
the time. Most of my free time, I've got headphones on, walking around, or I'm playing some music in the background. And I think Spotify is really good for that because you can just chuck on like Discover and things like that.
And you'll hear stuff that you would never just happen upon otherwise.
Because I think whenever I'm getting like a block creatively, it's usually because I'm sitting on the same like playlist of like 30, 40 songs or something, and that's yeah, that definitely do take a lot of inspiration from other artists.
Anything interesting, inspiring you lately? Like anything off the wall? Like
So yeah, this is a weird one, but I've been listening to a lot of like bossa nova and a lot of like like folk music.
Yeah.
And that's just really like all the styles that I work with is so far from that, but there's a lot of like inspiration in there, which is really nice to sort of dig through.
Yeah, man. Rob, you've had an incredible journey. You started quite young, and have been around really talented musicians. You're obviously a very talented musician yourself.
They're all here.
Everyone here is Rob's 100% responsible for it. Thank you, Rob.
No. Talented ones are here.
Please, man. Tell us a little bit about what you've got going on and any advice you have for people that, you have a rock background, very strong guitar, vocals. What advice would you have for people that are, again, they've got the talent, but now what?
Be lucky.
Be lucky. Scratch offs.
Yeah. No, actually, I think it kind of brings me back a little bit to what you were asking James about his strategy and, the things that he's got going on, how he got to that. Because whilst, a lot of it, like you said, it's early on and things have just started happening and you got the opportunities with BBC and they were supportive. I think a lot of that was down to, at least I could be totally wrong, but this is how it kind of worked for me, was just not letting anything out before it was ready. Like, I remember us talking loads about how stupid stuff, logos, imaging, having the right photographs, having, all that stuff lined up before you actually show anyone. Like, we all spitball demos and stuff and talk to each other all the time about, here's this crappy voice note that I did 10 minutes ago, what do you think? And people that you're close to listening on that stuff, and that's cool. But I don't want to say the people that matter, but the people that, whether it's general Joe public or someone you really want to talk to about moving your stuff forward, if you have an idea of what you want to do and actually start getting that stuff together, and then before going public or going whatever, you have those things ready to go, I feel like that had, for me, the biggest impact, because when I got an opportunity, and it happened in the weirdest place, it wasn't anything to do with music, it wasn't, I was at a racing event, and a guy we met there, after speaking to my brother, showed a little bit of interest, and I actually had something to show him, because we just put one song out, that went on the BBC introducing thing, and our online stuff was looking quite good, and it wasn't like we were showing him, a POC demo and a picture I took on my iPhone. It was having those things ready. And
gotcha.
Again, very low level, but impressive for what it was at the time.
I like that. I mean, you have to be prepared. If you have your stuff together at all times, then when that opportunity knocks, you're prepared and you can take advantage of that, because you never know when that window is going to happen. It could be on a racetrack. It could be after uploading to a website for a radio station in the UK. You don't know.
A great example of that is James and I used to be in a band together, right?
Okay.
And we had some crap online.
Okay.
We're
gonna go look for it. Everybody go Google.
Honestly, there was some crap, and when that band ended,
Still there.
It's still there.
It's still online. It's for the next decade trying to get
Was it the first moral?
No. Anyways, so yes, after this, we can delete that. But there was a lot more crap online.
Okay.
And we talked about that, and band was over, blah blah blah, and that stuff started coming down, and I was a bit like blah blah blah, and everyone else was like, no, that should probably come down. And it took me until not that long ago to go, thank God most of that stuff's gone, because people going through the history, whilst history is cool, it was just not impressive.
Gotcha, man.
It was
Okay, so shaping up your image and making sure everything
Just have
that is
stuff ready before you're gonna show it to everyone.
I like it. Now, Jonathan, Mr. J Busy here. This is really interesting because we've heard from a lot of seasoned veterans who have been around the block a few times.
Makes me feel very old.
Jonathan's the youngest in the room.
Hold on, I was gonna go get the Zimmer ready.
Seasoned vet.
Yes, you got your
Anyone
service
need an IV?
stripes. Well, Jonathan, you've been working with James here at the studio, and you're at the very, very beginning of your journey, but you're studying commercial music at University of Canterbury, right? And you've taken a lot of principles that I think you've worked very efficiently, and you've kind of circumnavigated all of the little shortcuts and ins and outs to get quite a jump start for your very first debut releases. You just had a release on Grime Daily, and that got like 2,000 views straight off the bat. What's been your strategy for crafting your debut image, and how have you gone about trying to get hype and traction and make a name for yourself and get known?
Well, I would say when you're at the very beginning, you don't really have an idea. Well, you might not even have an idea as you're going along, but you have no idea when you're at the very beginning. So I this is where I probably agree with like what Caitlin said. If you're a singer and it's very good to like learn an instrument, and obviously like I was fortunate that I learned loads like since I was like 12, so I kind of try to use that aspect to try and be like, oh, like yeah, I'm doing vocal stuff, whatever, releasing, but like it's like
You're distinguishing yourself as well.
That to try and hype myself to people, like to if I'm going on this channel for a video or going here for a release or whatever, like try to use that, because like at the end of the day, if there's just a singer and then there's a singer that plays instruments, like they can do more for themselves. So it's just you can sort of use that to try and create a sort of buzz by yourself.
One of the things I really like that you did is, because when we were talking about when you were getting started, is I said, you're going to start, you got to get involved in the community for this music. Every genre has a community, and a lot, like in the rock side of the house, will go and they'll say, okay, well, we'll go play the local pub. We'll go do the open mic night, and you'll go and you'll play to 20 people. You'll go play to your friends and family. I really like something you did, Jonathan, where you said, all right, well, in the urban music scene, everybody's into these shoes. Everyone's into the clothing. I'm going to go to the #1 shoe store in the country, and there might be 5 people in there. It might be like a Tuesday night at the pub, but they've got 100,000 followers on Instagram, and they'll live stream me playing in their shoe store. I'm going to have an audience of 100,000 people. And I thought that was super, super clever. And I think that kind of innovation is kind of what new artists have to kind of think about. Because, I mean, would you agree that hype is important?
Probably the best thing to do is whatever you can do that other people can't, especially if it's free, like definitely do it. Like for instance, that was a free opportunity where I'd have to pay anyone to like take a couple instruments down to his shop and like him.
I love it, man.
Still alive, but yeah.
We're down to like the last couple seconds here on the memory card. So I just want to thank everybody for hanging out with us here at Essex Recording Studios. Thanks for all the advice. Everyone's going to appreciate it. And let's go check out South End. All right. Say goodbye, everyone.
I think